What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be looking at what else the Winnipeg Jets may be looking to acquire at this year's trade deadline. We already saw the acquisition of Sean Monahan, giving up a first, a conditional third in 2027 if the Jets win the Cup. Monahan's a guy that can come in, play that 2C position, kind of help out the power play and the face-off numbers. I'm still a little bit suspect about that trade. I like Monahan, but was that the guy we wanted to, make that gamble on for the 2C? I don't know. Time will tell, obviously. I hope we get, vintage Sean Monahan. He's been having a pretty good season this year. We'll see how he does with the Jets, in their system. But without further ado, let's talk about the first player that I'm going to be talking about today, and that is Anthony Mantha from the Washington Capitals. Mantha's a very unique player because, he's a guy that can put the puck in the back of the net, having a great year this year, 15 goals with the Capitals in 43 games. He also has 8 assists, 423 points, so having a pretty good year. And every time I see Anthony Mantha play, I'm like, man, this guy would look so good with Adam Lowry and Nino Niederreiter. I think he'd be the perfect fit and really make the Jets scary, down that right side with, Gabe Vilardi, Cole Perfetti, and then Anthony Mantha on the third line. Mantha brings a lot to the table. He's huge. 6'5", 234, power forward that can shoot the puck and score. He's also a great defensive player, and playing with Adam Lowry and Nino Niederreiter together, those three, I think that could be a legitimately horrifying line for pretty much any NHL team. I don't know how you really, match that. That's a huge line. Winnipeg still has needs in the finishing department because, Sean Monahan's brought in to help the power play, help the face-off percentage, but Monahan's not going to be fixing the power play by himself. I think a guy like Mantha would be big, even to just have on the second unit. 15 goals this year. He's good at finishing. He's good at putting the puck in the back of the net. That would be huge for Winnipeg at both 5-on-5 and on the power play. They've been one of the better teams defensively this year, but they desperately need help scoring, and Mantha would fit the bill perfect. He's on the last year of a 4-year deal, making $5.7 million, will be a UFA this summer. His contract's not really that bad, but does Winnipeg have the space for it? At the deadline, they're projected to have about $3.25 million, and Winnipeg can do a lot to free up some cap. They can include Mason Appleton in a deal. Maybe they'd look to offload Alex Iafallo and then move Appleton down to the fourth line. Iafallo makes $4 million for this season and next, and Mason Appleton makes $2.16 million for this year and next as well. So if Winnipeg wants to make that move, clear up some cap to bring in Anthony Mantha, they absolutely could. One of those guys is going to be out of the lineup anyway once he comes in. So we'll see what happens, but I do think that it would be big if the Jets started to, kind of kick tires on Anthony Mantha. He is a Winnipeg Jet player, good defensively, big, can score, mean. I think that he'd be perfect. So, hey, Kevin Cheveldayoff, get on it, please. I want Anthony Mantha bad. Now, moving on to the next player we're going to be talking about here is Chris Tanev from the Calgary Flames. If you've ever watched Chris Tanev play, you know he is one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. Total shutdown guy, not going to let you pass, and I think that he'd be great to add to this Jets lineup. The Jets are already one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, but doubling down on their strength would be massive. Bringing in a Chris Tanev, adding him to the top four, moving Neil Pionk maybe down to play with Dylan Samberg, and then having, Tanev play with a Brendan Dillon or maybe a Josh Morrissey, I don't know. Tanev's been on record saying that Rick Bowness, head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, is one of the best, mentors that he's ever had in his career, so I don't think that it would be a problem getting him over here. I don't think that it would be an issue getting him excited and, playing with Brendan Dillon. Imagine those two playing together. That'd be kind of funny. That'd be crazy. Those guys would be just running around killing guys all game. But that could be a legitimate shutdown pairing for Winnipeg in the playoffs, and you need that. And is Nate Schmidt really doing that with Dylan Samberg? I'm not so sure. I think Samberg and Pionk would be a fine third pairing. I really like Samberg. Pionk, has his flashes. I'm not super high on Neil, but I think having a top four of Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello, and then having Brendan Dillon and Chris Tanev, that's tough to play against, and I really like the thought of that going into the playoffs. Chris Tanev's contract is digestible as well at $4.5 million. Calgary would either have to retain salary or the Jets would have to do something, cap-wise to make him fit, but it is very doable. $4.5 million for this season and then a free agent in the summer. Now, he does have a modified no-trade clause. It is a 10-team no-trade list, so if Winnipeg's on it, obviously he would have to waive it, and I do wonder if he would waive it because, Rick Bowness is there. Like I mentioned before, he's very fond of Rick Bowness, likes him a lot, so, playing on a very good Jets team, Rick Bowness is there. I don't think this would be a tough sell for, Chris Tanev. His brother Brandon Tanev obviously played here in Winnipeg for a while, was very good, loved the city, he was awesome. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Chris Tanev, but the contract is very doable, and I don't think he'd have a problem coming here. Now, kind of a sneakier acquisition that I think Winnipeg could really benefit from, I don't think it would cost them a lot, is Arthur Kaliyev from the LA Kings. Kaliyev would be a nice, cheaper option for Winnipeg to go after. I think that he could play on the third line, could play on the fourth line pretty well, and he's only 22 years old, but he's listed at 6'2", 210. He's a heavier guy, he can shoot the puck, he can score, and I think he'd be a really nice under-the-radar ad for the Jets. Now, the thing with Kaliyev is he just doesn't really get to play a whole lot with the Kings because, that's a team that's really solid, really deep. Right now they are struggling, and, maybe they do look to move a guy like Kaliyev to bring in a piece that could help them on their run, right? Maybe they look for a roster player from Winnipeg that's, maybe a Mason Appleton, maybe something like that. Maybe they do one-for-one switch. I don't know how comfortable the Jets would be with doing something like that, but if they're able to acquire him for cheap for a guy like David Gustafsson or something like that, I think it's totally worth it considering the Jets have Rasmus Kupari. Even if you need to attach a pick or something like that to it, I think adding Kaliyev would be big. Very underrated player that just needs some ice time, and I think that if the Jets were to give it to him, I think that he'd flourish for sure. And, he's just not in a situation in LA right now where he's able to play a lot. He's been scratched for a lot of the time over, players playing over him that, definitely have no business playing over him. So if he were to come to Winnipeg, I think that he'd be able to carve out a role for himself, and he'd be a very inexpensive cap-wise player as well. He only makes $900K for this season, and that is perfect for Winnipeg, because even if they did acquire Kaliyev, I still think they could go out and acquire a defenseman like maybe a Sean Walker, maybe a Chris Tanev like I talked about earlier on in the video. You add quality depth to your lineup while still having room to go and grab a defenseman, and truthfully, I don't think Kaliyev would cost a ton. I don't think it would be anything insane that would deter Winnipeg from not being able to acquire a top 4 caliber player on defense as well. So, if you want to add that depth move, I think Arthur Kaliyev could be that guy. I think he fits the bill for what the Jets are looking for right now. I think he's just a player that does need some ice, and I think that Winnipeg would be able to give it to him. I don't know, it's very interesting. But those are 3 players that I would like the Winnipeg Jets to take a look at. I think that Mantha would definitely be the white whale out of the 3. Very good player. Obviously, Brandon Tanev would help the lineup a lot as well. Really solidify that defense core even more. I do think Winnipeg is more likely to go after a top 4 defenseman than a forward right now, but I don't see a reason why they can't go after both. I think there are lots of options out there. It really does seem like it's all in time, as Chevy just burnt that first-round pick. What else is he going to do? I wouldn't be shocked if we see some prospects like David Gustafsson and Logan Stanley kind of get dumped here, or maybe we do move on from Chaz Lucius. I wouldn't mind that either. We'll have to see what the Jets are looking to do at this deadline, but I do think Chevy has at least one more move in his back pocket, so we'll see what it ends up costing. But with that, guys, I am out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about the video, think about the Jets and their trade deadline going forward here. Who do you want to acquire? Anybody I missed? I want to hear it down below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.